In an unprecedented move that's shaking Washington to its core, dozens of Democratic lawmakers are preparing to do something that breaks decades of tradition. On February 24th, when President Trump walks into the House chamber to deliver his State of the Union address, he'll face rows of empty seats. This isn't just a quiet protest. This is a full-scale Democratic boycott that's dividing Congress and igniting a firestorm across America. What's driving this historic rebellion? Why are Democrats willing to break with tradition? And what does this mean for the future of American politics? Stay with us as we break down the biggest political standoff of 2026.
Congressional Democrats say they plan to boycott the address like they did last year. Some plan to attend a rally on the National Mall called the People's State of the Union. The Democrat.
Here's what you need to know. President Donald Trump is scheduled to deliver his 2026 State of the Union address on Tuesday, February 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be his first official State of the Union of his second term. But unlike previous addresses where both parties show up regardless of political differences, this year is different, very different. Multiple Democratic senators and representatives have publicly announced they will not attend Trump's speech. Instead, they're planning to participate in a counter event called the People's State of the Union rally on the National Mall, just steps away from the Capitol building. This rally, organized by progressive groups Move On and Made Us Touch, will feature Democratic lawmakers speaking with Americans affected by Trump's policies, federal workers who lost their jobs, and immigrants targeted by the administration. The boycott movement gained momentum after last year's chaotic scene during Trump's first address to Congress in his second term. In March 2025, Congressman Al Green of Texas was physically removed from the chamber after interrupting Trump's speech with a cane-waving protest about Medicaid cuts. He was later censured by the House in a 224 to 198 vote. Other Democrats held up paddles with messages like "Save Medicaid" and "Musk steals," which were widely criticized as ineffective and chaotic. This time, Democratic leadership wants a different approach. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told members they should either sit in silent defiance or skip the event altogether. Senate Democrats have been holding closed-door meetings discussing whether to boycott en masse. So who exactly is boycotting? The list is growing by the hour. Senator Christopher Murphy of Connecticut was one of the first to announce he's skipping Trump's address. In an interview, Murphy didn't mince words. He's made a mockery of the State of the Union speech, and he doesn't deserve an audience. He's going to tell 40 different lies, call Democrats names, paper over his corruption, and I don't feel like what he's doing dignifies having Democrats there to cloak the speech in a veneer of respectability. Murphy added something even more striking. These aren't normal times, and we have to stop doing normal things. Joining Murphy are Senators Ed Markey of Massachusetts, Jeff Merkley of Oregon, Tina Smith of Minnesota, and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. In the House, Representatives Pramila Jayapal, Greg Casar, Veronica Escobar, Becca Balint, Delia Ramirez, and Bonnie Watson-Coleman have all confirmed they're boycotting. And then there's Maxine Waters. The California Congresswoman has established a pattern of boycotting Trump's speeches, and she's not breaking that streak now. Waters announced her decision on social media, stating she will never honor Trump with her presence. To understand why Democrats are taking this dramatic step, we need to rewind to March 4th, 2025. That's when Trump delivered his first address to a joint session of Congress during his second term, and it was chaos. Representative Al Green, a 77-year-old Democrat from Houston, stood up at the very beginning of Trump's speech and began shouting about Medicaid cuts while waving his cane in the air. Capitol Police removed him from the chamber. Days later, the Republican-controlled House voted to formally censure him, meaning he was officially reprimanded for violating House decorum rules. But Green wasn't alone in his protest. Multiple Democrats brought paddles and signs into the chamber. Some held up messages like "Save Medicaid." Others displayed "Musk steals," referring to Elon Musk's influence in the Trump administration. One Democrat simply held up a paddle that read "false" throughout Trump's speech. Democratic leadership knew immediately they had a problem. The visual of Democrats with protest paddles didn't convey a serious alternative vision. It looked chaotic, disorganized, and gave Trump ammunition to paint Democrats as unserious and disruptive. It became a distraction from the policy message Democrats wanted to send. Hakeem, Jeffries, and Senate Democratic leaders vowed this year would be different. No more paddles, no more disruptions. Either attend and sit in silent dignity or don't attend at all. Not all Democrats are on board with the boycott, and that's creating its own drama within the party. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania has been vocal in urging his colleagues not to engage in weird protests. In a Fox News interview, Fetterman said Democrats need to show up and act with dignity, warning that childish antics only help Trump. Fetterman, known for his unconventional style and willingness to break with party orthodoxy, argues that Democrats look weak when they refuse to attend. The debate got heated during a private Senate Democratic lunch earlier this week. Some senators argued that boycotting gives Trump exactly what he wants, the ability to claim Democrats are afraid to face him. Others countered that showing up legitimizes what they view as Trump's lies and authoritarian behavior. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has tried to walk a careful line. During a press conference, he was asked point blank whether Trump should delay his State of the Union address during the ongoing Department of Homeland Security shutdown. Jeffries dodged, saying, "That's an open question. We'll have more to say about that next week." Behind closed doors, Jeffries told Democratic members they have two acceptable options: attend and sit in silent defiance without any disruptions, or skip the speech entirely and attend alternative programming. What they absolutely cannot do, Jeffries emphasized, is create another spectacle like last year. So what exactly will boycotting Democrats be doing instead? They're planning something they hope will be more powerful than sitting in the House chamber. The People's State of the Union rally will take place on the National Mall on the evening of February 24th, the same time Trump is speaking inside the Capitol. The event is being organized by Move On, one of the largest progressive advocacy organizations in America, and Midas Touch, a progressive media company with millions of followers. The rally will be hosted by Joy Reid and Katie Fong, two prominent MSNBC commentators known for their fierce criticism of Trump. The format will feature Democratic lawmakers interviewing and amplifying the voices of everyday Americans affected by Trump's policies. Who will be featured? Federal workers who were fired during Trump's government purges, families affected by immigration enforcement actions, Americans who rely on Medicaid and fear cuts, workers impacted by Trump's economic policies. The goal is to present a counter-narrative to Trump's speech, the real State of the Union as experienced by ordinary people, not Trump's version of reality. Senator Murphy explained the strategy. "I don't feel like legitimizing Trump's speech with my presence. Instead, I'll be at the People's State of the Union where we'll hear from the Americans Trump's policies are actually hurting." Republicans, predictably, are mocking the boycott. They're calling it cowardice and saying Democrats are afraid to sit and listen to Trump's accomplishments. Trump himself hasn't directly commented yet, but his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, released a statement saying President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to the American people, regardless of whether Democrats choose to attend. Their absence will only highlight their obstruction and lack of solutions. The big question: will the boycott and counter rally generate more media attention than Trump's actual speech, or will it backfire and make Democrats look petty? We'll find out on February 24th. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. What does this boycott really mean? First, it's a sign of how broken our political system has become. The State of the Union address is supposed to be one of the few remaining moments of unity in American democracy. Even when the president is unpopular, even when tensions are high, both parties traditionally show up. They may not clap, they may sit stone-faced, but they attend. It's a symbol that despite our differences, we're all Americans participating in the same democratic process. That norm is now dead. And while Democrats will argue Trump killed it first with his behavior, Republicans will say Democrats are the ones refusing to engage. The truth is probably that both sides have contributed to this breakdown in civic norms. Second, this boycott reveals the strategic dilemma facing Democrats. Do they engage with Trump and risk legitimizing what they view as dangerous rhetoric? Or do they refuse to engage and risk looking like they're afraid or unwilling to compete in the arena of ideas? There's no easy answer, which is why Democrats themselves are divided. Third, the backdrop of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown makes this even messier. Trump is preparing to give his State of the Union address while a major federal agency is shut down due to a standoff over immigration enforcement funding. Republicans worry this makes them look incompetent. Democrats see it as proof Trump is more interested in performance than governance. Some political analysts argue the boycott could backfire. Americans generally don't like political theater, and simply not showing up could be seen as childish rather than principled. Others argue it's the right move, pointing to polls showing Trump's approval rating at just 36%. If Trump is historically unpopular, why give him the bipartisan visual of a full chamber? So what should we expect on February 24th? All eyes will be on the House chamber to see just how many empty Democratic seats there are. Will it be a handful of progressives, or will dozens boycott? As of today, at least 10 lawmakers have publicly confirmed they're skipping, but many more are expected to announce in the coming days. For those Democrats who do attend, the question is whether they can maintain the silent dignity Hakeem Jeffries is calling for. Or will we see a repeat of last year's paddle waving and disruptions? Republicans are already preparing. Speaker Mike Johnson has reportedly warned that anyone disrupting the speech will be removed and potentially face consequences. The People's State of the Union rally is also a wild card. Will it attract significant crowds and media coverage? Will it successfully present an alternative narrative? Or will it be dismissed as a fringe event that the media largely ignores? Beyond February 24th, this boycott sets a precedent. If Democrats can boycott Trump's State of the Union, what's to stop Republicans from boycotting a future Democratic president? Are we entering an era where the State of the Union becomes just another partisan battle with half the chamber staying home? The 2026 midterm elections are just 9 months away. Both parties will be spinning the State of the Union and the boycott to their advantage on the campaign trail. Democrats will argue they stood up to Trump's authoritarianism. Republicans will argue Democrats have no solutions and are simply obstructionists. One thing is certain: the State of the Union address will never be the same again. The Democratic boycott of Trump's State of the Union address represents a historic break with American tradition. Whether you see it as a principled stand against a president they believe is dangerous, or as petty political theater that damages our democracy, one thing is undeniable: this is unprecedented. On Tuesday, February 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern, President Trump will walk into the House chamber to deliver his State of the Union address. Some Democratic seats will be empty. Outside on the National Mall, those Democrats will be holding their own rally, presenting their own vision of America. Two competing visions, two competing events, one deeply divided nation. Here's what you need to remember. At least 10 Democratic lawmakers have confirmed they're boycotting Trump's State of the Union on February 24th. Democrats are organizing a counter-event called the People's State of the Union rally on the National Mall. The boycott comes after last year's chaotic protests, which Democrats regretted. Not all Democrats support the boycott. Figures like John Fetterman are urging colleagues to attend. This breaks decades of tradition where both parties attend, regardless of political differences. The boycott could set a dangerous precedent for future administrations. What do you think about this boycott? Are Democrats right to skip Trump's speech and hold their own event? Or should they show up and sit silently and protest? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you team boycott or team attend? Let us know where you stand. This story is developing every day. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our coverage of the actual State of the Union on February 24th. We'll have full analysis, reaction videos, and all the drama as it unfolds. If you found this video informative, smash that like button and share it with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening in Washington right now. This is history in the making, and you're watching it unfold in real time.